Good afternoon. Aloha, everyone. My name is Chuck Parker. I'm the Vice President of Content here at PBS Hawaiʻi. Thank you for joining us for this exclusive event featuring a sneak preview of the PBS Hawaiʻi Presents film Keeper of the Bay, the wonderful film you just watched. The episode you saw premieres on our broadcast Thursday night, that's this week, Thursday night, April 18th at 8:30 p.m. It can also be seen on our YouTube channel at PBS Hawaiʻi and on our website at pbshawaiʻi.org. Sharing island stories like these, hosting free virtual screenings, and more all begins with you. Your generous contributions allow us to keep doing this. We kindly ask for your support. On your screen should be a QR code. Please consider donating to us so we continue to provide these opportunities to see great films like this. Joining me today for our Q&A session, several folks who are responsible for this wonderful film. Ashley LoFaso, the director, Christine Zalewski, president of Dear Ocean, and of course, Cindi Punihaole, director of the Kahaluʻu Bay Education Center. Thank you folks for being here. We really appreciate it. I'm going to start with this question. I'm going to just throw this out there. So let's talk about the name of the film, Keeper of the Bay. Cindi, that's you. You're the Keeper of the Bay. So
everyone is.
Who came up with the name? It's a great name. Who came up with that name? How did you come up with that?
Well, I guess that would be me. I had been swimming in Kahaluʻu Bay for 30 years, and you can imagine the changes I saw over time. And then I saw this dynamo of a woman come in and start educating the visitors and working with her team and really making a difference day after day after day. And she actually inspired our Reef Heroes series, and Keeper of the Bay was the first story that we wrote, because when I looked at her, that's how she seemed to me. She was the keeper of that bay.
Well, Cindi, Keeper of the Bay, welcome. Tell us about your role and what you do there.
Yes. Well, we started our role as the keepers of Kahalu Beach Park and Bay because the community came to us. And they asked the Kohala Center if we could help support them because and in 2006, we had over 400,000 visitors coming to a 4.2 acre park. And they were loving the bay to death. So it's a very beautiful, shallow, welcoming bay. And so we felt that education was really critical and found that when our visitors were educated with aloha, they became very respectful and wanted to do their very best. And so our foundation is engaging and educating our visitor so they, with aloha, so they become part of the solution. And we are aloha ambassadors.
Excellent, excellent. So Ashley, as the director of the film, you live on the East Coast, disclosure here. You had to come out here to make this. So what was that process like, and how much time did you have, and how much time did you actually spend in the islands to get this done?
Well, we had about a full summer of prep leading up to the shoot, where I spoke with about 50 individuals all across Hawaii, just to kind of narrow down what obviously we knew Cindi would be the focus of this story, but how do we make this a well-rounded perspective of the issue? And we want to surround her voice with other people in the film that could really amplify the message. So that was a whole summer of prep, and then we did just 2 weeks of filming the entire documentary. It happened during a time when COVID happened to be spiking on the island, which was just crazy. But we got the whole film done in that 2 weeks, and then it was about a year and a half of post-production to get it to what you saw today.
And then for people who don't understand how this kind of thing works, okay, so you've edited the film. Then what was the next step? So Christine, I'll go to you. What was the next steps with sharing the film and getting the messaging out there?
That was largely Ashley. She, with her background, was a master and knew what to do. I was mostly just following along and helping where I could.
Yeah, I think the next step after editing, once it's complete, is, obviously you want to get it distributed, and PBS has been a huge help in that here. But the first step was really going through the film festival circuit, and we applied to a number of different film festivals. We were lucky enough to get into a handful and win. So that's really bringing attention to the film, and the more eyeballs we get on it, the further it will go. And that's really our goal. It's a local story, but it's speaking to a worldwide issue. So yeah, just anywhere we can get the views is where we'll go.
Well, actually, you did well because we learned of this at the Hawaii International Film Festival here, so that's where we got wind of it, and immediately we're like, oh, we need to contact these people and find a way to share this film, with a bigger audience. And we already have a comment from one of our people watching today. So this is from FCS Drone Videos. That must be a production company, I'm going to assume. Mahalo nui to the filmmakers, PBS, and your work, Cindi, and then all of your staff and volunteers. What an inspiring story. So I agree, it's a great, inspiring story. I want to, go into more about just how involved the education effort is, because tourists come, you said 400,000 a year. Well, they're for, maybe one day a group spends at Kahalu Bay, and then but they're coming every day. So how does that process work to keep, basically be the keeper, but to keep the education going and to constantly be aware of what's happening there?
It is a very, very difficult, but at the same time, our volunteers are very dedicated. They love the Bay; it's their passion, and they love the visitors that come. And so when we educate, like I said, with aloha, but in a way that makes the visitor feel welcome. And so the visitor then becomes our voice. When they're in the Bay, they'll share with other visitors the right way to take care of place. And so it really is about building relationships and collaborations. But the bottom line is trust, aloha, and love.
We have another comment here from someone named Lisa Bishop. One of the many impressive things about Cindy's outreach is that many snowbirds volunteer their time at Kahalu Bay when they come back. Question here from, and I hope I say this right, T.G. Baruski. How will the recent announcement of the worst coral bleaching event the world has ever seen, this according CNN, expected to impact our island, Hawaii Island? Anybody want to tackle that one? Might be, it's a big question, and maybe not, maybe we don't know the impact at this point. It's kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, but we don't know the impact, and we just got word through NOAA that El Nino is moving in, which is, for us, it's a good thing because it'll be a cooler time for our coral reef. But I've worked closely with the Department of Aquatic Resources, the state and the county, and looking at ways to mitigate in case we do come across times in the summer months that we need to, let's say, cover some of the coral heads to protect them from extreme heat. So we're preparing right now with the state and the county in case these issues come across.
No, that's great to hear, and it is good news for Hawaii that El Nino's on the way. Not so good news for Christine folks down in Florida there.
Oh, yes.
But I have Aaron, and this might be for you, Ashley, or whoever wants to jump in. What were some of the unique challenges you faced in making this film, and how did you overcome them?
Well, first, just like I said, we dealt with COVID as we were arriving on Hawaii Island. So a lot of scenes were being shuffled around and changed, but it was important to just keep the focus on the story and learning what Cindi had to say, and just capturing that. So as long as we had that as our guiding light, we were okay. But I'd say the second thing that I struggled with was making sure I represented a culture accurately that I'm not a part of. I'm making a documentary about a woman's life, and I want to do it justice. And every scene, every quote that's in that film, I carefully made sure that it was appropriate and it wasn't an outsider look at what's happening in Hawaii. I really wanted Cindi to be able to watch this film and feel like it is what she wanted to communicate. And as an example, the very opening of the scene with the hula sequence, I remember I was speaking to one of our interviewees about it, who's a native Hawaiian, and I said, I have this idea to have this really nice hula sequence at the beginning and kind of leading into the whole film. And I was like, is that a tacky touristy thing to do? Like, is that just a really cliche way of looking at Hawaii? And she said, you know what? I actually think that's the perfect opening to the film because, and she told me, hula is the connection to the earth. It's the movement of the wind or the ocean. And she's like, that is exactly what you need to ground this film and to open it. And I really appreciated having that conversation. And like I said, there were many conversations like that. So it was a challenge, but a challenge that I welcomed.
Well, I think the two points to make there is one, you had the thought, but you were also smart enough to ask, which is, I think, key in storytelling. Cindi, so how did she do?
I don't want to know.
Actually, there's no words for me. She just understood for what was needed and my hopes and dreams and vision. She was able to put it into this documentary. And I am so blessed and so grateful she came into my life.
That's excellent. What can visitors or people who may be watching that have been visitors or future visitors, what can they do to be better stewards when they visit, that part of the island or any island for that matter? But what can they do to continue this effort? That's to anybody.
I think Cindi's the best one to answer.
Well, I think Ashley can.
Nah.
Well, I have that perspective. Oh, go ahead.
No, I love your answer, Ashley.
I was going to say, I have that perspective of being a visitor to the islands. And I think it's super important, no matter where you travel, to try and learn a little bit about the place you're going to before you get there. Understand the culture a little bit, because when you realize, in Hawaii in particular, how connected these folks are to the land and to the sea, you kind of walk into that place with respect initially. And then you learn from there. When you go to Cindi's Bay, you'll learn about how to take care of the coral reef, but you'll understand the importance and the need to gain that insight ahead of your travel. So as a visitor, that's what I try and do wherever I travel, is just learn a little bit ahead of time.
We have another question here from one of our, I think he sent another question in earlier, T.G. Brusky, and I hope I'm saying that correctly. He says, I know that Kahaluʻu Bay was closed for coral spawning. Should other areas, his example or her example is Kealakekua Bay, should they also close during spawning? Is that something that should be a regular practice? Maybe not just that coast, but the other islands here in Hawaii and elsewhere as well?
Mm-hmm. We closed the park, Kahalu Beach Park, during the cauliflower coral spawning month, which is in May. And this year we'll be closing May 23rd to the 31st. I do believe that other areas would do well if we close those areas. And I know that we did that up at Tuaco with the state park. And so I know other locations are looking at doing a similar project for their bay. I think for Kahalu in 2018, when we did close the bay, we only had 6 viable spawning coral heads, cauliflower coral heads at that time. And last year we had over 80. So, and each year we close for coral spawning. So I do believe that if we give Mother Nature time to respond to giving them time for a rest period, she will come back, and we see it now at Kahalu.
That's a great stat to share. What why is this important to get this message out that you've created this film?
I think the reason I wrote the story initially was because the work Cindi was doing was so important, and I thought so few people knew about it, knew how much work it was, how hard she was working, how volunteers were coming out day after day after day, year after year. It's never ending because we have almost 500,000 visitors a year coming into the bay. And Cindi really understands how important collaboration is. She understands inherently, Malcolm and Mackay, how connected everything is and how we all have to work together. She brings people with different skill sets, personal experience, wisdom, traditional knowledge, scientific skills and backgrounds. Everybody's going to have to work together to make a difference. We've got warm weather coming. We have to mitigate all the other stressors that will have synergistic negative consequences to that. And unless people are knowledgeable, they won't have a chance to do something to help.
Cindi, it sounds like just from the film and from I'm hearing from Ashley and Christine, you have a vision, you know, for the bay, for the future. So can you share that with us? What's your vision?
You know, my vision for Kahalu is to really malama or care for the place and teach our children the best way to care for a place. We are looking to keep the bay as pristine as possible, so our children 100 years from now can say mahalo kupuna for caring for us. And I do believe, and I wanted to do a shout out right now to Sarah Peck, who is on the call. She is the creator of Reef Teach. And she, at the University of Hawaii, came to me in 2006 and asked if we could help expand the program at Kahalu. So
well, she commented, yeah, she says congratulations, well done, wonderfully done, I think is her phrase.
Yeah, and she is an amazing lady. And mahalo, Sarah.
I want to read some more comments here from Dr. Suzanne. Mahalo nui loa to Cindi, Kathleen, and Reef Teach Ohana. Your dedication to protecting Kahalu and Hawaii Islands is greatly appreciated. Excellent information how imperative it is to our future generations in restoration of coral and ocean life. We are all keepers of the bay. Cindi, you are a true inspiration to all of us. And I want to ask, okay, each of you, if there's a favorite moment in this whole process of making this film and getting to where we are now, right? Christine, let's start with you. Was there a favorite moment?
Oh yeah, it was when I talked to Ashley on the phone the first time, and I thought this could really happen because this incredible woman just stepped into the picture in my mind. It was, I'll never forget
it. Okay, Ashley, to you.
Oh gosh, there are so many great moments.
Okay, you get a couple favorites.
I'd say probably the behind the scenes stuff. Obviously, filming was great, and it was just a thrill to be a part of that. But I think those moments that were off camera, we had a dinner one night just with Cindi and a couple of her friends, and it was great. They prepared all this Hawaiian food, and I think I made empanadas. I forget what I made, but you know, a bunch of food for the table. But it was just such a, you know, they talk about talk story, and that was just an iconic moment of doing just that, and that was all that I was looking for. So it's great.
Yeah.
Cindi.
And for me, it was meeting Susie Watson, who out of the blue came to Hawaii and with Judith allowed Ashley and her team to stay at her place, and that's where we had our dinner. And just like Ashley said, just kuka, just talk story and understanding each other, and just listening to the wonderful vision of these young ones. Ashley's team, you know, they're our future. And it was so, it touched my heart. And Ashley, and then I met her family, and I understand why she is who she is today.
That's wonderful. We have another question here from Joe Rock. Is it possible to replicate this work to other places globally by sharing the information that has been gathered by this experience? What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, yes, we can. Right now, we have other locations even on Hawaii Island that are duplicating our efforts. What I feel very comfortable with is just sharing what we created and allowing the leaders in other locations to take our work and tweak it so that it works in their location. But we will always be there to support them. And so we've had our programs working in other locations in Puako, and further south of us and Honau now, and moving over to Keaukaha and Hilo side. So and it doesn't matter where it is, we can still share our work because corals are corals all over the world. And we're able to educate with aloha, educate our visitors so that they become part of your team.
Now here's a question from Happy Neighbor. What to do if they find sunscreens containing, and I'm going to butcher these names here, but I'll give it a shot, oxybenzone and octinoxate. But if someone, if that's still on sale somewhere, if they find them, what should they do with those?
Well, on Hawaii Island, those chemical sunscreens, we have a law now. It's banned. Chemical sunscreens are banned for retail sale. So if they find any of those, they call the County of Hawaii, and we'll talk to the retailer and have them removed. If they do have it in their possession on Hawaii Island, they can bring it to Kahalu Bay, and we will dispose of them. I work with the county to have a disposal area. So on Maui, also they have a law to ban retail sales of chemical sunscreen.
Excellent. You mentioned something earlier that I wanted to expand on a little bit, that it's community that makes all of this work. And so talk about that a little. You know, it's even government, I mean, including government and community with that. So how has that been for you in terms of working with, say, Hawaii County, the County of Hawaii, and the state? Is everybody on board?
Mm-hmm. It takes time. We've been at Kahalu since 2006. It's now 2024. But through these years, it's building respect, trust, and we are at the point now that we have that kind of relationship. And I think building relationships are key with the federal government, the state, and the county, but also our community. And your word is gold. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to do this and walk away. If you, as my dad has always taught me and my kupuna, your word is important, and you must, if you're going to say it, you must do it. You walk the walk, you talk the talk, you walk the walk. That's what Dad would always say.
Excellent. Well, as we're coming to the end of our Q&A session, but I want to give each of you a chance to give us a final thought and perhaps what you want people to take away from this film. And Christine, I'll start with you.
Cindi taught me about Malka and Mackay, how everything is connected, how profound that is, and how we all have to work together to make a change, that nobody can do it by themselves, not even a group of people. Everybody has to work together because everything is so interconnected, and that people can just choose one thing and do it, be part of that connection, and it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, very similar thought. And it really impacted me when we were interviewing John DeFries, and we featured it in the film where he said, find your own bay. And he didn't mean literally find your bay, but find something in your local community that needs some sort of attention, and figure out how you can help whatever that is, and how you can amplify that situation and kind of rally people around you to make a change, make a difference. And that's also contagious. When you see somebody doing that, even if you don't help with that directly, it might spark something in you to help with something else. So I think it's just that chain reaction that can really make a huge difference worldwide.
All right, and Cindi, before I get to closing here, you have the last word.
Well, for me, as I was thinking through our film and all the hard work that went into it, I just wanted to express my heartfelt mahalo to Kiakua, to my mom and dad, and our kupuna that guided me through my life. And also grateful to our Reef Teach volunteers and our Aloha ambassadors who generously give of their time to educate our visitors, to care for our beloved Kahaluʻu. And additionally to our sponsors and donors for believing in our work. But really, finally, and most of all, a very special mahalo to Ashley for making this documentary a reality. Because if it wasn't for her and our dog story the very first time, we would not be here today. I love you, Ashley.
You make me cry every time I talk to you. Thank you. It was so, so sweet. And right back.
I can almost guarantee that many people watching this are also crying, because I'm tearing up as well. But thank you for being here. This concludes our panel discussion. Thanks all of you out there who've been watching for joining us today. Sorry I couldn't get to all the questions, but thank you to those who sent in the questions and comments. We really appreciate that. PBS Hawaiʻi will be sending you an audience survey through email for your feedback on today's event. This helps our team continue to improve our screenings. If you have a moment, please offer your insight and some feedback. Again, sharing island stories like these, hosting free virtual screenings, and more begins with you. Your generous contributions allow us to do just this, to keep on doing what we do. We kindly ask for your support. On your screen, as I mentioned earlier, is a QR code. If you liked what you saw, please consider a donation to PBS Hawaiʻi. To donate, simply scan the code with your phone. It'll take you directly to the donate page on our website, which is really great anyway, to the website tonight, so you'll like it. The episode you saw today premieres again this Thursday, the 18th of April at 8:30 p.m., but it'll also be available on our YouTube channel at PBS Hawaiʻi and our website at pbshawaiʻi.org. So on behalf of me and our panelists here, Christine, asked PBS Hawaiʻi, mahalo and aloha, and have a great afternoon, evening, wherever you are.
Aloha, everybody. Mahalo nui.
Aloha.